right, well, welcome everybody tonight to the Urban Outcast. I am your outcast, Mark Urban, and this is kind of our first little run here. Going to do some evening interviews and a bunch of different things. Going to talk about all kinds of stuff, from politics to, religion to, what's going on locally, what's going on nationally, but mostly we're going to interview people in the community here in Bellingham and Whatcom County area, and we're just going to test some things out. But business owners, people that are doing things in the community, volunteers, all kinds of people, all kinds of topics, and we're just going to kind of go with it. And so I'm here tonight with my co-producer, Jeffrey. How you doing, Jeffrey?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you tonight?
Well, not too bad, not too bad. We got a little late start working out some technical difficulties, and I'm a little hot still. And if you could turn like all my headphone volumes down a little bit.
I guess I can do that.
Yeah, cool. I'm actually pleased to have, we're going to talk a lot about Bellingham and the Bellingham's Gone to Shit Facebook page, which has grown from just a couple years ago, about 500 members to 8,000 almost seemingly overnight. And I am pleased to have with me the guy who started the page himself, Mr. James Lynch. James,
How's it been?
welcome to the show.
Thanks. Thank you for having me.
How's it going, buddy?
It's going great.
Yep. And cheers, by the way.
Cheers.
Cheers, everyone. We're not a bunch of alcoholics. We just like to have a little evening sip. So, Jeffrey, cheers.
Absolutely. Cheers.
I don't know. This town can drive you drunk.
Well, that's a good place to start. Yeah. Lots going on in Bellingham, man. I tell you what. And this page is really kind of showcasing that. What a great, interesting idea. Now, tell me a little bit about before we get into that. Tell me a little bit about you and like where you're originally from.
I'm actually originally from Bellingham.
Okay. Like you were born and raised here?
No, I was actually born in Maui, Hawaii.
Oh, really?
And then we moved to Texas where my sister was born. And then we moved to Canada. And then 5th grade, we moved to Bellingham. And then pretty much from 5th grade all the way up until I was about, 20, I moved to Arizona. And then I came back after a year. And then in 2010, I moved to Montana to be with my wife and kid. And in 2021, I've been back almost 3 years now.
So did you say 2020 you moved to Montana?
2010.
Oh, 2010. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So we talked a little bit, before this off camera. You started the page when you were in Montana?
Yeah. I started in Montana maybe 3 years ago.
And what made you decide to start a Bellingham's Gone to Shit page while you're in Montana?
So, like I said, somebody I know personally worked at the courthouse and started sending me pictures of the library and City Hall. I'm like,
interesting.
Are we allowed to swear?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. So
Fucking
for shits
ain't right.
and giggles, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to start a Facebook group called Bellingham's Gone to Shit.
So it's just kind of almost tongue in cheek.
Yeah, it was just on the whim.
A little bit.
I was bored, so I was like, you know what? So I keep getting these pictures and I keep posting them. And I say, after 3 years, you go from 10 members clear up to 500 and then 8,000 overnight in 3 years. It's amazing. And I did it as honestly as a joke. I didn't think it would have taken off like this.
And like I said, we've talked a little bit. You don't seem, you seem to be you're not uber political per se or anything like that. You're kind of down the middle average guy that, decided to do something tongue in cheek and.
Pretty much. But, living here in Washington and Bellingham, you're blind to everything. But when you move away and you're like, wait a minute, this is different. What's going on? And then after 3-4 years, you come back and you're going, wait a minute, this wasn't like this. Why are all these tents lining the freeway?
You know, that is interesting that you say that, because I often use the term with a certain political party, and I have no, I have no political affiliation, but there's a certain party that's running Bellingham right now that kind of ties into what you're saying, and the fact that they don't see it because they're in it. It's like they're living in feces, but they've convinced themselves it's chocolate pudding. You know,
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, this is great. And it's like, do you not see what's going on? Oh, everything's fine. It's fine. So let's just keep voting the same way. Let's just keep voting in the same people. Let's just keep, status quo.
Yeah.
And so you're describing the fact that you moved away and started looking in from the outside. And I think that's what we need to do sometimes.
Yeah. You come in, and I've never seen tents lining the freeway in the 20, 30 years that I've actually lived here down in Seattle.
Right.
And so when you come back, you're like, wait a minute, what the hell is going on? And then you go back to where you live and you're going, why is this different? So I started doing research. Well, California's a shithole. Oregon's a shithole. Washington's a shithole. They're all blue states.
Yeah.
Why is this? So that's what literally kind of got me really started in politics. 2008, I voted for Obama. Why? Because I did. And now look.
Yeah.
I'm
I think a lot of people did
pro-Trump.
that are regretting that decision, actually, because it kind of started the, as he put it, the fundamental transformation.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fundamental transformation, and it hasn't been for good.
Yeah.
But a lot of us who were opposed to him saw that. But of course, we're just considered right wingers because, well, you just don't want the Democrat black guy to get in office. And it's like, no, it had nothing to do with that. We knew his background, which was he's nothing but a community activist. He never run a business. He never made money. You guys don't know how. Then you get somebody like Trump in who has to come in and clean it up. This guy knows how to make money. And I'm an unabashed Trump guy. I'll just say it. We won't get into that too much right now. But, you see how the economy started booming. We had lower gas prices, and people say, well, the president doesn't have anything to do with that. Actually, that's not true. The president, just the tone and the spirit of having the right president, everybody loosens up a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
because they know they're not going to get taxed to the hilt. And, but yeah, back to Bellingham, though, kind of the same thing's been going on. You have the same seeming, leadership that's just not getting it.
Yeah.
And following the status quo of the rest of the state and the rest of California and Oregon. It's like it's one big blue wave of crap.
Yeah.
So anyway, back to you though. So you moved away, then you saw that it's kind of going to crap. What made you decide to move back?
Family, honestly.
Right.
And, I've told the wife of the kid, I really want to move back. I really want to move back. And then I come back to visit, and then I go back to Montana, and I'm like, oh, I don't want to move back. And then after 6-7 months, you're like, God, I really miss the water. I really miss the mountains.
They put something in the water. Okay, like we all know this.
Well, it is. Look, that's the thing. Well, no doubt about it. Washington State has got to be. It's paradise in the summer, man.
It
this
is.
place. They say, I love my state, hate my government. Washington State's gorgeous, and I think that's the only saving grace at the time that we've seen a mass exodus after COVID. COVID was a real big eye opener for a lot of people of what dictatorship looks like.
Oh yeah.
You see other red states that aren't doing it, getting out of it quicker, and just everyone's fine. And we can get into that whole thing another time. It's a whole other podcast, but Washington's gorgeous, so I can't blame you.
Well, and beyond just gorgeous, we don't have poisonous snakes. We don't have not everything in
Huge
nature
spiders.
is trying to kill us. I mean, and that speaks volumes, because other states it's like, okay, but have you been to Oklahoma? Yeah. Have you heard those tornado warnings? Like, if you don't know what the hell's going on, that shit will scare you.
But we talked too. So you started this page. You kind of see what's going on. You see the homeless. Speaking of homeless, weren't you for a while? You kind of had a little issue with that.
Yeah, from 19 to about 20, I was on the street. And then that's when I moved to Arizona. And then In 2003, I moved. So 2002, I moved to Arizona. In 2003, I came back, and for some different issues, and then I was pretty much told by somebody in Arizona, don't come back. So that put me back out on the streets from about 21 to about 25.
So you've got experience being homeless.
Yeah. Been there, done that. You know, I worked, never stole.
So what was that like? What did that look like? Tell me what that was like a bit. Like, were you actually living on the street or in a car? Or
I was on the street. I don't know if you know that bridge underneath. I can't remember what street it is, but Jalapenos or whatever on Holly.
Yeah.
That bridge right there. Now they got that all fenced off.
You
know
know
why that's fenced off?
Are you kidding me? Really?
Mm-hmm.
Maritime Heritage Park.
Yeah. You know why that's fenced off?
Well, I'm assuming homeless people.
No. Well, that probably too. But when I was on the street, I became friends with this veteran, and his wife ended up leaving him, and he was going through a rough hard patch. And back then I smoked. So he gave me some money and said, "Hey, go get us a beer and some cigarettes." And when I came back, he hung himself.
Really?
Yep.
You found him?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. And then another crazy story is when I was 19 to 20, I actually knew the Beltway sniper.
No kidding.
Yeah.
That was
John Muhammad and Lee Boyd Malvo.
Right, I remember that.
He actually asked me if I wanted to go on a road trip with him.
Wow.
I was like, I can't. I'd love to. Nice guy.
Aren't all
Nice
serial
guy.
killers?
They all are.
You don't
You're in the microwave.
know, you don't know what's going on outside of their life. He was quiet.
Sure. Yeah.
But he was nice.
Was he homeless too then?
He was staying at the Lighthouse Mission.
I'm trying to remember. It's been a while.
With Malvo.
That's right. And Malvo went to Bellingham.
Yeah, he went to school at I think Bellingham High.
Bellingham High School, yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, hey, I ran into him one day and he's like, hey, I'm going to be going on a road trip. You want to come with? I was like, I'm getting ready to move to Arizona. I'd love to go with you. And
there's one you look back and go, damn, I made the right choice that day.
And that's exactly what I said when all these shootings started over there. And then come to find out it was him and Malvo. I was like, holy shit. He wanted me to go with him.
Did you talk to the cops at all? They interviewed?
No.
Really?
No.
Well, they're going to want to talk to you now.
Yeah, we're live on all social media. So,
James Lynch, everyone. Good night. I got to go.
But
what's
crazy is he had this green duffel bag that he would not let anybody near.
What was that? Do you think it was his guns?
I think that was his rifle.
Oh, dude, that
I think
you experienced you were a part of a piece of history, not a good part, but famous history.
But what's weird is when I was on the street, I knew him and the 3 kids. I can't remember how many kids he had that he actually stole from his ex-wife. He kidnapped them from his ex-wife.
And did they complain, or did they want to be with him, or what was that like?
I don't know the whole story, but he ended up disappearing for about 3-4 months, and then he came back with Malvo.
Wow. So what was he like? You said he was kind of a nice guy.
He was a nice guy. He would talk, but he would leave a lot of important facts out.
Well, of course. So was it Lee Malvo, right?
Yep.
And then what was the kid? Or no, I'm trying to get him straight again.
Lee Boyd Malvo was the kid. That he was the trigger. He was the one pulling the trigger.
And then the guy was
Muhammad.
Muhammad, that's right. What was his other name?
John
Muhammad. Okay.
I don't remember. I don't know his actual real name, but he was actually a veteran, I think, in Iraq or Desert Storm.
That's right.
Correct.
And
So yeah,
he ended up changing his name from, I don't remember his original name, but to Muhammad because he wanted to be Muslim.
that's right. Yeah, I kind of remember that vaguely. Yeah. So during this time, you're are you working? Are you what's going on with you? You know, you're homeless, you're on the street, you're hanging out, you're meeting serial killers. That's kind of interesting.
I was working. There was a labor
Where were you
ready
working?
and manpower like right across the street.
So let me get this straight. So we got a homeless crisis right now where, and Jeffrey has a lot of experience with this because he's worked with, this guy Jeremiah who's been out there and he's seen it. But because I want from somebody who's been homeless, it seems to me that wasn't really ideally what you wanted to be.
No.
No, I mean, nobody wants to be. I didn't want to be. I was kind of forced into it.
There's very few people out there who are choosing that.
Yeah.
Okay. There
But
are
why
few,
does
don't
it
get me wrong.
seem like that's not the case? Why does it seem like if they're not choosing it, and here's a guy, and I'm just asking the question, you pulled yourself out of it, right?
Yeah.
How did let's start with that. How did that process go?
I mean, being on the streets, and you meet some cool people, a lot of times, yeah, I would couch surf and stuff like that. But working and saving up money to get into your own place, which honestly was the worst mistake I ever did because I had this place for 3 months and then I met this girl who
It's
came
always a girl.
up here from Arizona and I gave all that up to go to Arizona.
Those girls. Oh, women.
It wasn't that good, put it that way.
Well, apparently,
But
they're the devil's daughters. I tell you.
It's true.
But what do you do? So I actually came back up here to take care of some family matters,
But you start getting yourself together. It sounds like at this point, right? You start. So you're doing some labor ready stuff. Is that right?
labor ready, manpower, day labor type of stuff. If they like you, they might hire you full time.
Was drugs and alcohol ever an issue?
Drugs, no. I mean,
He's got a drink in his hand. I think we can safely say that.
Well, I didn't say. I said an issue, not a pleasure.
It's true. It's true.
When I was on the street from 19 to 20, drugs and alcohol was never an issue. Yeah, I would have a beer once in a while.
No, and I'm talking to you.
But
Yeah.
being legal, no. I never did drugs. The only thing I really did was smoke, and drank some beer.
Okay.
But yeah, I saved up the money that I had.
Yeah, it sounds like you had a goal to get yourself out of that, which you clearly
You can
did.
only do for you.
Yeah.
If you want to be a bum all your life, that's what's going to happen. I've seen people on the streets from 20 years ago. And I'm like, you're still doing this? And a lot of homeless people here are just damn right lazy. Well, I make more money panhandling than I do from actually working.
Well, and that's the point I was making is I think a lot of them have given up on a regular life partially because of drugs and partially because they can make a ton of money just panhandling.
I panhandled twice when I was on the street. I don't know if it was just because I'm ugly or what, but I only made like $20 in like 5 hours.
Because the homeless thing is really, I look back on the fact that, especially in this state, instead of encouraging people with programs to get yourself out of it, let's make drugs legal. Let's make it so they can do drugs on the street. Let's give them money. Let's just allow them to build campments behind places for long enough, and it's this, there's certain other areas and states that are like, no, we're not going to allow that. So where do they go? They go to the states that allow it. And so, at some point I want to interview Jeannie Burton. If you're familiar, you've seen a little bit of clips of her on the page. She was all methed out, and incarceration was the one thing that actually finally got her, when you forced rehab in a sense.
Yeah.
Okay. No, for me, it seems like, okay, yeah, that they've been around. Now what I'm seeing though is, hey, we can do this. I can shoplift and not go to jail.
Oh yeah, no, I am
I can do
so
as much drugs as I want or sell them, and I'm not going to get busted. I can go in and people say, "Hey, don't do that." I'm like, "What are you going to do?" Well, we're going to call the cops. Go ahead. They're not going to do anything.
Yeah.
true.
Okay, that's what I'm talking about, and I'm not a callous person.
And-
I'm very compassionate to those who deserve compassion.
And here's the funny part: if you knew this small percentage of people that are actually doing the shoplifting, it will twist your brain.
Well,
Like-
and these are the things we need to talk
Yeah,
about.
like
These are the
I have
things.
been back there recently. The Walmart cabinet, I've walked all the way to the back. I have talked to people all the way to the back, and I was floored. Once you get 100 yards back in the mile hike back, everything changes. The first 100 yards,
Interesting.
that's where all the fentanyl people are at. Because guess what? You can access the front, you can access the camp, you can sell your drugs, everything. It is the prime spot. Beyond that are the people who just want to be left alone. They don't get the free food up front. They don't get the free clothing because they don't even want to associate with those people. They don't want to be thought of as one of those people because they're not like that.
So, but where does that come? There's always been homeless. There's always been hobos. There's always been transients. But it seems to me now more than ever, and I think a lot of it has to do with this open border. Let's just be honest. The open border, fentanyl.
Yeah.
I mean, you're creating zombies.
Yep. And you've created a drug that is the most addictive substance that humanity has ever seen, in a price point that is lower than any drug in history. And
cheap and deadly.
Yeah,
It's like what, $2 a pill or
combination.
something?
Okay, so if you buy it if you were to walk downtown and find Joe Schmo downtown who you've never met, you know nothing about, you're gonna pay $4 a pill. $4 can get you higher than you've ever been in your life.
That is cheap.
If you're actually buying in bulk, you can get it for 25 cents a pill.
That's just insane.
No, it's disgusting, is what it is.
So then, clearly the drug part of it is a big part of it.
No, it's huge because if you try fentanyl once, you're done.
Right.
I know people who have done it. I have ran into friends back in those camps who were strong.
People used to know.
Yeah, like you talked about, they're not willing to try. These people tried and they were savages at standing on their own 2 feet and figuring out a way.
Yeah.
Even if they were in the game or whatnot, like they never went a night on a street.
Yeah.
And now these people are in a homeless camp. I saw one the other day and I couldn't even have a conversation with him because he was so fried. And it broke my heart.
If I was on the street now, I honestly think I would be addicted to something.
Oh, I couldn't be on the street without being on something. I mean, I'm too much of I like my nice little home and space, and I'm just not wired to be camping and sleeping in my own feces every night.
If you drive back there, because he sits right in the corner in his wheelchair, shivering. This dude has been through a hell I can't even imagine. He's lost both his legs because of diabetes. He's had 9 back surgeries. He is in hell. But he gets more handouts than everyone. And when it was cold out, we had one of our group that actually offered to take him into his house, let him have access to the shower, hot food, a warm place to sleep for the night. And he said no.
Which, by the way, hold that thought. Jeffrey's part of a group that was out. You were feeding and handing out coats and things.
Yeah.
So he volunteers. Jeffrey volunteers a lot. And Jeffrey's not, it's an apolitical thing. I mean, he sees both sides of this. We've talked that there are homeless, and I agree, there are homeless that I think, they want to be left alone. And I don't give a shit what you do. If you want to go live in the woods, I don't care. Just just don't steal and push drugs. So I'm like,
Yep.
you know,
Yeah, all
And-
homeless aren't bad.
no.
It's
That's not what
just
this
the
is about
ones
at all.
that are bad that make it bad for everybody else.
Right.
And that's where the problem lies, is when you classify any group, it doesn't matter, police, homeless, anything, as a group
Stereotypes them all.
for bad acts of single individuals, you're gonna do more damage than good. Period.
The problem is that's going to happen when you have an epidemic like we have. Is in any facet of society, you're going to have the minority running the majority. That's what we're seeing in politics right now.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
what we're
I
seeing
mean,
in our current government. That's what we're seeing. The whole climate and spiritual feel is it's this minority. Most people, all agree they just want to live their lives and be left alone.
Yeah.
And anyway, we're back.
But in my opinion, I think Washington enables the criminals, but criminalizes the law-abiding citizens.
Absolutely.
Amen.
Absolutely. And that's the other thing too, is hey, wolves have teeth, say the sheep,
Yeah.
and the sheep recognize that teeth are dangerous. So what do the sheep do? They remove their teeth.
No.
Yeah.
That's the current leadership. This liberal Democrat, I'm just going to say it, liberal thinking. And I'm not saying the Republicans, I can't stand the Republican Party either, but the platform and I've run into Democrats. I know, I'm even seeing them on the page,
Yeah.
right? That are like, yeah, no, this isn't what we don't want either. The Democrat Party left Democrats a long time ago.
Oh, yeah.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
And they're being run by psychopaths, literally. And that's why you see a lot of what's happening. It's not working. It's like you and I were talking the other day. It's just common sense and logic, which there isn't so common anymore. If it's not working, give another party, try something different.
Yeah.
But you've got money, you've got power, you've got all these things involved. Okay, your city's literally going to shit, bringing it around full circle to the reason for the page, which has now exploded to 8,000 people. And it's very interesting now how everyone started to take notice.
Yeah, like I said, I did it as a joke.
It's awesome.
I actually moved back, and I'm going, wait a minute here.
You've created something that is
I get a lot of shit for it too.
Yeah.
I get good and I get bad.
Well,
I've lost jobs because of it.
Let's talk about that.